Comcast versus NAAAOM, which is not really a thing. NAAOM is something that Byron Allen made up. The National Association of African American Owners of Media Company. Here's what happened. All right, Byron Allen. Now, some of you remember this Byron Allen. And I went and found an old comedy clip because, believe it or not, Byron Allen was actually started out as a comedian. You're going to see here, I think, very shortly, why you haven't seen Byron Allen do comedy very, very often recently.
I guess I'd tell you a little about myself first. Just turned 19, had to register for the draft. Now, how many people had to register for the draft, Shaq? All right, I'm not worried about it, though, because the post office is handling the paperwork. You know, I notice most adults say the stupidest thing.
Now, at this point, we do the point where you all bid how much you'll pay me not to play the rest of this. The bid starts at $50. They go in $25 increments. Do I have 50? Do I have 50? I'll play the whole thing. I'll play the whole 2 hours. All right? You have to sit here and listen to Byron Allen. You don't want to do that, do you? No, of course not. All right? That's horrible. All right? I agree. Fortunately, Byron Allen is a much better business person than he is a comedian. He actually is an incredible business person because while I've been telling crappy jokes, he has been buying media companies. Byron Allen owns everything. And let me put an emphasis on everything. Okay? This is where it got interesting. Is that he asked Comcast to add his stations to their 785 offerings of cable stations. And they said, nah, bro. We saw that comedy clip that Sean just played. That's horrible. We don't want nothing you have. All right, you keep all that stuff. All right, we'll keep the judge stuff, but you keep all the rest of that stuff. He said, no, you got to take my stuff. You just don't want my stuff because I'm black. And they were like, look, we didn't know you were that black. All right, we didn't sound that black to us. We don't know. What we know is that we don't like your comedy, and no, we don't like your stuff. And he says, you're going to take my stuff. I give it to Byron. He files a $20 billion lawsuit. Now, normally you file kind of lawsuit under Title VII or maybe 1983, 42 U.S. 1983. He files his under the Civil Rights Act of 1866, 42 U.S. 1981. And you see here, it says that all persons within the jurisdiction of the United States shall have the same right in every state and territory to make and enforce contracts and to sue, be parties, give evidence, and do full and equal, yada, 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 for the security of persons and property as enjoyed by white citizens, and shall be subject to like punishment, pains, etc. 1866, you understand what was going on here, right? Same year that we're passing, let's see, the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, right, 15th Amendment. This is a time in which we're trying to achieve our first sort of stab at racial equality. And Byron says, look, if I was white, you would have taken my crappy channels. And my proof of it is you have 688 other crappy channels that are owned by white people. And us brothers, the National Association of African American Owners of Media, i.e. me, we think you've been discriminated against a brother man, and we want $20 billion. All right? So the district court in California says, nah, I saw that comedy clip, Brother Byron. I don't tell you, but we saw your shows. They're not that good. All right, it's crap. It would be .com if it was any good. Your stuff is .tv. No, you got to go. All right, Comcast does not have to carry your channels. You need to prove that it was motivated by race, and we think they're pretty legitimate business reasons. Like you're not funny. District court. However, the Ninth Circuit says not so fast. And what they said was that at least you need to hear this case, district court, to see if one of the factors was race. If just one of the factors was race, then this is an actionable claim. It doesn't have to be the sole factor. It just could be one of many factors. But if they said at any point in time, we don't like this so and so, you need to the case needs to go forward. Now, this is the best part is leading up to this, there was a lot of media, and both sides decided that they would like to play this like it would be the end of the world. So Comcast says, hey, look, if Byron wins this case, this is the end of American business and even whiteness as we know it. Because every business decision made by whites will be that have any adverse effects on Black people will have to determine, were you really racist? Were you really, and who knows? Racism kind of sneaks in here. We racist sometimes, and the bottom line is that it will be something that will automatically be challenged. It's hard to prove a negative, etc. This could be a thing where every time, you know what, we didn't put enough hot Cheetos in the inner city store. Does that mean we have a problem with Black people? Black people get to sue us because we need more hot Cheetos in that store. You see the point, right? Alan, on the other hand, argues, hey, if I don't win this case, we're going back to slavery. And here's his argument, is that if Comcast wins this case, then it's a repudiation of the 1866 law that says that Blacks and whites should be treated equally in contracting, etc. And that's going to be a slippery slope. And before the end, we're all back in the fields in cotton. And I'm not kidding. I heard from Black people like, oh my God, pray for Byron today. This could be the end of our freedom in America. Both sides were, I think, maybe exercising a little bit of hyperbole. Just a tiny bit. It's really a question that happens in almost all cases. It's not even different. It's just that it's brought a different law. The question becomes whether, if race is a factor, whether it has to be the motivating factor, the sole factor, or whether if it's one of many factors, is it still actionable? This happens in Title VII, Title IX cases, right? But anyway, two media companies, so they have a little ability to shape the narrative. So, question I have for you is, how did it come out for good old NAAAOM? The Supreme Court reversed, and of course, technically remanded the case. Here's the amazing thing. This is going to blow you away. 9-0. Even the liberals were like, really, Byron? Really the joke about Skip Stevens? Really, you thought that was funny? But if you don't take your non-funny stuff out of here, Byron, okay? The case, of course, is remanded back because they never can just dismiss it to say, go back to the Ninth Circuit, and you guys, given what we just told you, can now decide if we want you to. And this is a lot of, obviously, time and legal effort and work, etc. So let me show you something that's going to blow your mind. Now, Byron lost this case to the Supreme Court, right? But guess who got his channels carried? That's right. Say what you want about my brother's comedy. The man is a business genius. Okay? Somehow he got the victory anyway. All right? And therefore, you know what? All hell